Okay, so very quick disclaimer before this video starts. Just want to get this out here. This video is going over a Twitter thread talking about Persona 4. It covers very common discourse, to be honest with you. Discourse that's been parroted for a while on Twitter and other social media platforms, or anywhere really where Persona 4 is discussed, talking about why Persona 4 is a certain way or why it covers certain subjects poorly. It's been very common. This Twitter thread has gained a lot of notoriety recently, so I decided to cover it on stream yesterday, kind of on a whim. And because it was on a whim, obviously this wasn't scripted, it's not the most well-structured response in the world. It was just kind of off the cuff, but I think I made my points clearly enough to the point where I'm okay with uploading this to YouTube. So what you're about to see is going to be unedited for the most part, but like I said, I'm pretty confident I got my points across well enough to the point where I'm okay with uploading this. Spoilers for Persona 4 Golden, obviously, I think that goes without saying. And yeah, enjoy the video. Also 11 days, or 10 days actually, from the point of this voiceover, Persona 5 Royal is dropping on PC, and I will be 100%ing the game on stream when it comes out. So make sure you follow my Twitch for more things like this rant you're about to watch, and things like me 100%ing Persona 5 Royal when it comes out. It's gonna be fun. You should be there. It's gonna be fun. Anyways, you can watch this now. I'm done talking. Have fun. Who gives a yeah, so I don't want to super get into this thread, but like I disagree with so much of its interpretations, and needing to say shit like needing to say shit like I spent 4 years and astronomical amounts of money reading Susan Sontag, is that pronounced? Which is I believe some philosopher who died like 18 years ago, by the way. I know it's not really important, but I'm just saying, it's not like they give you a Persona degree. I understand why media literacy and philosophy can give you better understandings of other media that you interpret, but it just doesn't seem relevant, especially when you say that, and then it kind of seems like you should just get a refund on whatever books you bought, because it doesn't look like they help too much. And then, you know, portray the opposition as, which, hey, look, I'll say is wrong as much as the next guy, but portraying the whole opposition is that's kind of your school gave you a Persona degree, really? Didn't know that's something you could study. But you know, honestly, that's kind of hype. I want a Persona degree. So yeah, it was just a lot of shit. Like, there's maybe one or two things I agree with there, but like not really. Like I was thinking like maybe this is one of the better threads I've seen on this subject, but then someone tweeted here, and they said, I think today's Twitter thread might, on how P4 is bad might actually be the worst one in terms of the person who made it, purely because of how he ends it by trying to argue he knows better than everyone else because he went to college. I feel like I butchered reading that just now, but you get what I mean, or you get what it says. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. It's just kind of dumb. Like, I don't want to get into it, because if I do go tweet by tweet, I'm gonna go on for an hour. Like, I'm gonna have to talk for like an hour. And like, do I want to talk about this shit for an hour? Not really. Not really. But like, it just, yeah, it does suck. I saw a lot of people, they started muting they started muting the terms on Twitter, Persona 4, kanji, Naoto, and they're like, you know what, one day we'll be able to discuss this game. Not today. Not today. Today's not today. Maybe it'll be tomorrow, maybe the week, maybe next week, maybe next month. It's not today. Like, it's just, some of it just feels like it's argued in such bad faith. I feel like most of it feels like it's argued in bad faith. Like, it's like, that's why I want to talk about it. I'm like physically trying to repulse myself from getting into it, but maybe we'll go over some of the points because I'm bored. By bored, I mean I'm kind of dreading the next thing we have to do after that, which is playing Persona 5's Kanashiro fight, trying to beat it using a wheel. If you haven't been here for Kamoshida and Madarame doing with a wheel, it's been pretty terrible. So you know, talk about P3 Nightfall. What's P3 Nightfall? Hold on. I hope Kanji isn't gay because he's hot. If you want my take on it, I think from what we can gather in the game, Kanji is probably bisexual. This is just an assumption, and this could be like completely contradicted in the future because I don't think we actually know enough to make like a legitimate, you know, like 100% thing. But considering, and I'm going off the fact that he seems to have a fair romantic interest in Naoto when he believes Naoto is a man, and then continues to have that romantic interest after he finds out she's a woman. So I think going off that alone, it kind of seems like that might be the case. But the thing is that the point of his arc is just a matter, right? Like, it's not really a big deal, and his behavior and the things he likes or whatever, and his appearance shouldn't dictate what he is, you know? Shouldn't dictate what people think his sexuality is. I mean, that's kind of the whole point they're trying to get across, right? Like, you know, I mean, liking Persona's gotta be an inherent feminine trait, you know? But, like, a lot of guys, I don't give a what I like based on whether it's masculine or feminine. I like some of the Gaga's songs, okay? I like some... So I like some Dua Lipa, right? Maybe that's more feminine, but I don't want like judging someone's sexuality based on stuff like that is kind of dumb, you know? And people just don't want to be labeled in a certain way because of the things they enjoy, and that's the point Kanji's arc tries to get across. And in the end, he embraces such. He's like, yeah, you know what? I sewed, what was it, a plush? It's actually been like 2 years since I've actually played Persona 4 story. But it was like a plush, right? So it's like a little plush. Yeah, I did it. That's me. Even his appearance looks very masculine as well. So it's like the dichotomy of being a very masculine looking guy and then liking feminine things. The other me is me at the end of the game. Yeah, well, the whole thing with Persona 4 with the shadow, right? With your shadow, it's like at first they go, "You're not me," and then you know the fight starts and you go through a boss fight. And in the end, they kind of embrace that shadow is a part of them. Sure, it's a pretty much a physical manifestation of what they're repressing, and it comes out in a very almost hyperbolic kind of way. You know, kind of pushing it to the absolute degree of whatever point whatever they're repressing, right? I mean, even in P5, it gets even more obvious. I mean, Kamoshida is literally a king of a castle. Like, doesn't get more blood than that. But it is legitimately a part of them. It is an insecurity, a repressed part of themselves, and they have to learn to accept it to overcome it, or to accept it. Acceptance is pretty much the most important part of kind of overcoming something. Because it's not like any of the things they repress are, for the most part, inherently negative things. It's just kind of their outlook on it. Or what, you know, society has kind of made their outlook of it. I'm trying to compress an 80-hour game into, you know, it's kind of very basic terms, so. Yeah, because society, exactly. We live in a society. That's the point of the game. So yeah. Yeah, but it seems the person who wrote this story doesn't even believe that what they're trying to say is they believe Kanji is straight, and they think that the game kind of teases it and takes it away or something. Maybe I'll read the thread just to make their points more clear too. But I don't even think, I think the funniest part is I think Kanji's actually straight, man. I don't think it's been outright said, but I think from what we can gather, there's probably a good argument that he's not. Not that it matters, again, that's a big deal. Like, maybe we'll go through a few of the points. What's the original? So the whole point of the thread, right, is trying to justify this original tweet. which is Persona 5, sorry, Persona 4. Be your true self, but only if your true self isn't gay, and trans isn't too much of a tomboy, doesn't dress weird, inherits a family business, and generally abides by cultural norms. You can like sewing, but your friend will still call you a slur. Which, okay, let me. When did they say that? When, I don't remember. Was this an Adachi voice line? When did they say this? No, okay, so I get what they're trying to say. To some extent. But, I mean, come on. I think this is, for starters, argued in bad faith. And I think a lot of this... You'd have to do a lot to try to justify this. I think you can probably try to make any point you want about a game or whatever if you have the evidence to back it up. I'm pretty sure this was the only tweet in such thread, so I guess that's the point of this tweet, to try to justify that. But it's gonna be difficult. I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be difficult. So I'm going to translate to this tweet to people who somehow can't understand it. The problem with Persona 4 is not that kanji isn't gay. The problem is that every character's arc is, I think I might not be what society wants of me, and the resolution is, wait, yes I am. Which again, I think Persona 4 is a big, like I just mentioned, right? I think Persona 4's a big topic of it is acceptance. Like, how do I put this into words? Acceptance is like a big part of growing as a person. Like, a lot of the reason you can do bad as a bad person, I believe anyways, like, a big reason you can do bad is if you believe you're a bad person. You know, does that make sense? Like, if you believe yourself to be a bad person, you can justify doing bad to yourself. Or doing bad to others, you can justify that to yourself. So I think self-acceptance is a big point that Persona 4 tries to kind of hone in, and I think a lot of other media has also done it. Even Breaking Bad, like I said, I finished it a few months ago. Great show, by the way. A big point they tried to make with all the Jesse was doing was, I'm not going to spoil Breaking Bad, so I'm trying to keep this kind of vague, but he joins, like, some self-acceptance, what is it, circle or whatever, kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous, but they talk about acceptance instead of alcohol. So it's like a lot of acceptance is something I think covered in a lot of media, and I think Persona 4 does it. So it's like, what they're trying to say here is, like, they don't make inherent changes to the things around them, as like the resolution to their arc or whatever. But like I said, I just think it's acceptance. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Adachi is literally Walter White. It's true. But here, they're going to give examples, apparently. Oh, God. Oh, boy. I'm going to play the Persona 4 soundtrack for peak irony here. Hold on. Okay, this the whole soundtrack? Start playing DD Mouse Remix, I'm going to kill you. Okay, this is fine. Not this fucking song. Okay. So they give Yosuke, I wish I didn't live where I live, as the premise of their arc, and the conclusion is, actually, it's fine, I should shut. Now, again, it's been a while since I've actually played through Persona 4 story, so I hope chat can help me a little bit in actually remembering the resolution to a lot of these arcs. I also, while I did 100% the game, so I did do every social link, I'm not gonna lie, when I was going for all achievements, I just kind of skipped everything, because I was going for all achievements, and that was already going to take me, like, a significant amount of hours. When I played the actual game, obviously I didn't skip dialogue, but I don't recall, I literally can't remember which social links I did fully and which ones I didn't. When will I scream except that he has a gambling addiction? Like, if I gamble in Persona 5, at least that means I don't have to gamble in real life. I just finished the story like a month ago, so I tried to get. But, like, isn't part of this, right? So, I think I do recall Yosuke hating, I mean, he works at, what is it, Cunez. He has one friend, and that friend actually hates him in reality, right? Saki, who, I believe you find out that she actually secretly hated him the whole time. So he doesn't want to live where he lives, and then the conclusion, actually, it's fine, I should shut up. I don't think it's fair to say, because I think it's just a kind of a gross. I didn't come prepared to this, by the way. I should have probably watched some P4 if I knew I was going to go over this. I think a big point of P4 is that a lot of characters could have ended up like, yeah, right. Saki hated him, right? in secret. But I think they find out through his shadow, or through her shadow, right? When they go to the first area of the game. I don't remember what it's called. The tutorial area where they fight Shadow Yosuke. I think a big point Adachi. I think a big point Persona 4 tries to make is a lot of its main characters, and they say this outright. A lot of them could have ended up just like him if they hadn't met Narukami, right? If they hadn't met the main character, you, and then subsequently all their other friends. So I think, like, I wish I didn't live where I live because I work at Junez, I hate my life, and my one friend actually hates me, to be fair. He doesn't know that, though. And then the conclusion being, hey, I made a lot of friends, maybe it isn't so bad living in Inaba, isn't a bad, like, conclusion to that arc. Like, yeah, he doesn't leave Inaba, nothing really changes in Inaba besides the people he's met. But, like I said, it kind of comes down to just he met new people, he met friends, and he could have ended up, like, let's go over Adachi's arc real quick. And of course I'm going to be talking Persona 4 spoilers, by the way. I think that goes without saying. A big reason Adachi does what he does is effectively boredom. And a lot of people break that down to literally just being boredom, not really understanding what that entails. Like, Adachi, and I think they give even more backstory in the anime. But Adachi goes to, you know, police school, detective, shit, whatever. He becomes, like, he gets degree, he goes through all the work, just to end up in this town, right? Or at least from his perspective, like a really town of Inaba, and even in Inaba, he's treated like a joke. So not only is he working in this town, where no one really gives a shit, but he's a joke. Like, Dojima will hit him, shut up, Adachi. He's like the partner, more like the dog of Dojima, right? And he ends up in like that's where his life has led him, essentially, right? This is where his life has brought him to a town. So it's like Yosuke hating where he lives. Yeah, I could see why he could end up like Adachi and have similar ideals if he didn't end up, you know, understanding why he likes or you know, meeting everyone and finding out, hey, maybe it ain't so bad. See, I just don't think that's a fair conclusion to draw. I think this is really reductive of the actual arc that he goes through. And like, you can not like I said, I tweeted this out. Let me go to my Twitter real quick, actually. I said, okay, well, maybe I was a little bit upset at the time, so I was kind of a little mean about it. But whatever, I stand by everything I said regardless. I said these stories aren't really hard to understand. Why can't people just critique the many problems these games actually have? Why must it be the same discourse that's been debunked a countless amount of times? One of the problems these games have is that they repeat the same information over and over, but maybe it's not actually, that isn't actually an issue, considering they can repeat it 1,000 times and people still won't understand it. These games do have a lot to critique in them, and I think that you could argue the Persona 4 character arcs aren't exactly the most interesting. Like, if you tell me, you go to me and you're like, I don't like Yosuke's arc because I think the arc of he's in a small town and he hates it and then he makes friends and then he likes it, right? Again, that is reductive of the actual, you know, it's like, if you actually sit there and watch his entire social, like, it's like, what, 40 minutes, right? So it is, maybe not that long, but like 20 or 30 probably. So it is still fairly reductive, but like, I can get that. I get why you'd think something like that. Because you'd be like, okay, it's not the most interesting. But just saying like this just seems odd. And if you're wondering, did I mention this so far? I did, right? Yeah, I turned myself into Adachi because one bad thread is all it takes. I did say that. Thank you for another hydration. I don't mind it. I don't like Yosuke's arc because he doesn't fall into any trash cans. That's true. Yukiko, my family wants me to inherit the business, but I don't want to. Actually, yes, I do. I should and do what they want. Oh, no, Yukiko's I'm having trouble remembering, because I do not recall doing Yukiko's arc. That's completely wrong. I certainly know it doesn't end up like this. Like, I can tell you for sure that this is not a good interpretation of her arc, but if I can actually remember it. She says she does want to inherit it, but not for the reason her parents want. Yeah, I recall her talking to some guys too, and there were people who it kind of reminds me of Haru's arc in some ways. Talking to some guys who wanted to use her company for some reasons or whatever. I really can't remember it. I don't want to sit here and go through Yukiko social link, though, because we're gonna be here all the time. But yeah, I think that's pretty much what it is, right? She's want to inherit it. Like, I get why people can think, right? The resolution is, wait, yes, I am. But a change in perspective doesn't necessarily mean that it's literally no growth as a person. I mean, most growth, I'd say, that we have as people comes from experiences similar to these, and your perspective changes because of one factor or another, right? Let me go to kanjis, because this is where it gets fun. This one's where it gets fun. 180 quote tweets here. I think I might be gay, and my society would not accept that. Actually, no, I'm not. I just like sewing. See, where do we begin with this one now? See, now it's gone. Now I'm just like, now where do we go at this point? Where do I even begin with this? Because because the whole premise here, like this, right? This just seems like bad faith interpretations of the arcs, right? This is just flat out wrong. So it's like, where do I even begin? Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. So we did talk about it briefly just a few minutes ago. But Kanji's arc is more so about at least I'm gonna say at least the way I interpret it, but you know, it is pretty much the way it's written. What the f did I just? Oh, okay. PayPal's emailing me because I got Kanashiro donations. Okay. Is that, and his shadow is portrayed as I suppose you could say, kind of a very stereotypical, kind of, glamorized, hyperbole, I suppose, kind of feminine, portrayal, right? Because that is the part of him that he's repressing, right? Because society as a whole, right? And this happens in real life all the time, still in 2022, so it's like this is an unrealistic, like, point that they're trying to make here. Because of Kanji's interests, sewing is one of them, but I believe he shows more just kind of in his dialogue, in the way he's kind of very prideful about things that kind of, I mean, we see it because he's very, he'll speak openly about something, right? And then Yosuke will be like, "Oh, dude, what? No," right? Like, you know, there's the one dialogue option where you can ask to see Kanji in a swimsuit. He's like, "Yeah, dude, let's go." Yosuke's like, "No," right? Yosuke's almost in some ways kind of a physical representation of that societal, what would you call it? Like, societal norm, I suppose, right? So, like, Kanji isn't wrong to feel like he's supposed to be some very feminine, perhaps by default gay because he's more feminine, and, you know, that, I suppose that is a stereotype, right? Kanji feels that way and represses that because of the things he likes. That's why he hides the things he likes generally. He doesn't want to talk openly about the sewing. Even for the kid he's sewing, again, I forgot what it is. I think it's like a little plushie or something. He's like, hey, don't talk about it, alright? Don't mention it, alright? I'll do it, but don't mention it. I'm doing this for me, not for you, whatever. He still comes off like he wants to kind of look more masculine than he is. So, like, this isn't what his arc is supposed to be. I think I might be gay. It's that society thinks I am more feminine, or I am gay by default because of the things I like. And the conclusion to that is eventually, I mean, it's shown pretty bluntly in his social link. I'll go over the conclusion in his social link, because I remember that more than the conclusion to his dungeon. And I think the social link is really where the full arc kind of comes to its conclusion. The police see, and correct me if I get things wrong here, because like I said, it's been a while. But the police come to him or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, you're hanging around this kid or whatever. What are you doing, huh? You're a bad kid. What do you do? Bad influence. We're gonna you know, tackle you about it or whatever. And I don't think he wants to give the true answer again. Maybe I should just watch it. Oh, I'm really dumb. It's literally the one I was just on. Yeah, okay, never mind. Okay, it wasn't rank 8 then, or rank 10 literally, but this was the one I want to use as the example. I'm gonna speed it up because we can... Why would they play this song? This song makes me laugh. Why would they play this stupid song? I can't take it seriously, ever. I can't take this song seriously, ever, because of all the Adachi memes. He didn't do anything! The kid's just hanging, Gotta say that you've been threatening a child at the hill. That's right, punk! So yeah, they do come out and kind of accuse him of something. It just isn't true, by the way. And this is a good point. This isn't the best example of this, but later in the thread, because I have read over it generally, I don't think I've read over literally all of it, but I don't think, it's gonna get into later how they think the game is pro-police, pro-cop, has a very, very pro-cop, almost propaganda-like message they want to spread, which I think is completely absurd for Persona of all series, because that seems to be kind of a running theme that the police are worthless when it comes to pretty much anything that they experience. But this is even just one example of them just coming up to Kanji and just blatantly kind of accusing him of something that isn't true because of his outward appearance and the way that they already perceive Kanji, right? Yeah, Adachi literally became a gun to have a cop to have a gun. This thread mentions that line, and it's going to spin it in a way that tries to make it look like this pro cop, and we'll get there. It's gonna be fun. We might as well just go over the whole thread at this point. I said it's gonna take an hour, and it probably will, so strap in! We're gonna get to you eventually, Kaneshiro, I promise. Thank you for the $1 earlier, Kaneshiro. I know. We'll fight you, I promise. So yeah. Threatening child. This kind of forces him in some extent to kind of out himself, but he also does it by his own quit it volition. And there's a kid. Hey. So I'm just reading over it. Stop talking about your cookies, man. So yeah, so he outs Kanji that he's making him dolls and bunnies and whatnot. The songs in this game are so funny to me. I don't know why the music's so funny. There's nothing gonna make me believe that. Oh, okay.
Thanks, man.
Get what I need to do. And lying about it, I made the kid some dolls, but the ones for his friends and his mom. It was 8 all told. Let me warn you, they're so cute, they'll give you diabetes. Okay. The instantly fatal kind, okay? Yeah, you tell him, Kanji. So what, you want me to teach you how to make them, huh? You about to say that ain't like me, that's a good point. Like I care, I'm used to being pointed at, and what's more important, I ain't gonna make this kid or senpai a liar. Hey you, the button's falling off, I'm gonna sew it back on you here. There's nothing to do with them. You never do such a thing. He may be stupid and short-tempered. Okay. I think we generally have the point, though, right? What a nice mother he has. So, I think we get the point, right? That, like, eventually in the end, he comes to terms and he kind of outs that this is a part of him, and he finally doesn't have to kind of keep it in that that these are his hobbies and these are the things he does and whatnot. So it's like, I don't know how you get, I might be gay and society wouldn't accept that. Actually, no, I just like sewing. Like, I genuinely no idea. At this point, no clue. Unless you are one of those people who thinks because he has those hobbies that he has to be by default gay, which is the entire point that the arc is trying to work against. But I think that's just what it is. Didn't play Persona 4? I believe they played it. I know at the end they go on their tirade. I've played more Mega 10 than you. Don't tell me I'm wrong. I'm sure they've played it. People misinterpret popular media all the time. I mean, I've seen people on Twitter who think Walter White was the good guy in Breaking Bad and think that this is only Breaking Bad fans are gonna understand this, but the speech that he gives Gus, or Gus gives Walt to manipulate him about how a man provides regardless of the cost, was actually based masculinity and totally not manipulation, guys. So people misinterpret popular media all the time. I'm not surprised that this stuff happens, although I'm just a little confused because it really isn't subtle. Like, it's not subtle storytelling, really. It's pretty overt, considering there's 10 ranks of it, and, you know, like here, you want to talk about an actual critique I have of Persona sometimes? They have the 10 rank criteria. Sometimes it feels like all the arcs they want to do don't have enough, enough there to really work 10 ranks out. So some of them are just kind of filled out, or that's an actual critique I have of it, of social links sometimes. So it's like, I don't know. And sometimes I have too much or they have so much with them that they don't get enough out. I don't know. I've been ignoring chat sometimes. Crazy thing is the game doesn't even confirm that he's straight. It's more implied that he's bisexual because he was in and out even before he knew she was a girl. Yeah, that's what I'd believe too. Like I said, there isn't enough like concrete evidence really, but that's probably what I'd run with too. It seems like that's the case. He's not played more Persona than me. It's given that he didn't play the game. Embarrassing if they actually did. True. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's played more Mega 10 than me. I'm sure you have, man, but it doesn't make you any more right about this. It's kind of embarrassing, actually. Let's go over the final 2 tweets first, actually, because we might as well talk about them, because people mentioned them in the chat before. He ends this thread saying, I've played more Persona games. Someone had dubbed these as a catchy, by the way. Here it is. Literally the first reply.
I've played more Persona games than you. I've played more Mega 10 games.
You get the point. I've played more. I have a degree in English and a focus in fiction writing, which is all great. But it doesn't by default mean you'll understand everything. I mean, there are literally, we see this all the time, gaming journalists who specialize in playing video games and get everything wrong about them. I mean, like, just because you have certain qualifications, sure, I agree that it should make you more qualified to talk about it, but clearly in practice, this isn't always the case, and it's kind of embarrassing that you're an example of that. My media literacy and my knowledge of this series are better than yours. Quite a bold claim. Watch my video I made 2 years ago, thank you. I won't, but I'm sure it's great. I ain't spent 4 years, and we went over this earlier, but I'll go over it one more time. I ain't spent 4 years in astronomical, I love it, astronomical amounts of money reading Susan's, I'm never gonna get the last name right, which we can give like a quick Google search, is a philosophy writer, and I haven't read her work personally, but I'm sure it's great. Seems like it's pretty well respected, or whatever. All these, again, she died December 2004. All these books are published probably 70s, 80s, 90s. And like, obviously none of these are on Persona 4, so like bringing up its relevance, it doesn't make super, like a lot of sense. I get it's to bring it up to go, I know a lot about media, and I know how to criticize it or how to analyze it or whatever. But like, I don't know, I could go read her and like still be a like it doesn't by default. It doesn't seem relevant. That's what it is. It doesn't seem relevant. It really doesn't. It seems like it's trying to go, my thread can't stand on its own 2 legs because people who are on Twitter, who are clearly this dumbest genre of people, are able to disprove it. So I'm gonna go, hey, look, I have an authority on this, and I am the authority on talking about media because I've read this and you haven't. I've played more Mega 10 than you haven't. Like, just let your points stand on their own. There is some extent to where you do want to bring up your qualifications on certain things, but this really isn't an example, really, and it just brings up. It's pretentious. It's trying to appeal to authority, and it's really trying to paint the opposition as for disagreeing, and it's kind of it kind of sucks. Hey, look, I hope those Susan books, I hope you can still refund them, man. That's all I'm gonna say. If you spent an astronomical amount, and this is the best you could come up with, maybe start looking into refunds. But you know, that'd just be me. Reading stream 1 soon. Soon we'll be reading. We're gonna go. It's the natural way of life, right? Persona, Mega 10, Susan, right? That's just naturally has a lot of crossover there. Like, I don't get it. Like I literally just don't get it. Like, you know, I mean, you can write all of this, and it's kind of just painful to read sometimes. Anyways, let's go over to the next one. No, they did write a lot. It's a very long. That's why I said it's gonna take me a while to go over all of it. Luckily, a lot of it is kind of self-explanatory, dumb. Or it's kind of dumb, like just you guys know if you play the game why it's dumb. But it's like we'll try to talk about it anyways. We'll give it a fair shot. Let's go to Naoto. I think now I've kind of gained more confidence in speaking on this. At first I was kind of dreading talking about it because like, here we go, we're gonna talk about this for an hour. I think now I'm kind of more let's just run it. Naoto's arc is apparently about I think I might be trans and my society would not. Can we just go into the Persona 4 category, guys? Can we just? I mean, this is just Persona 4 at this point. I think I might be trans and my society would not accept that. So apparently it's the same as kanji's, but just about the topic of trans. Which, by the way, right? Like, these would be probably excellent subjects to actually cover in a game, by the way. Can I say, if Persona 6, or Persona 7, or Shin Megami Tensei 10, the Chinese port on the flip phone, Digital Devil might, whatever they want to come up with more subtitles for the next SMT game, whatever. They want to cover that shit? I'm totally cool with that, because these actually seem like interesting subjects that have a lot of depth in them, and if covered correctly, which I truly do think Atlas can cover things correctly when they want to, I think these could be like great subjects to cover. Legitimately, I think they to some extent should be talked about in you know, in current society. I think they're probably underrepresented, so they're not stories people have seen much before, unless you kind of search them out. I think it's great. I think they'd be great subjects to talk about, legitimately. It's just not what Persona 4 covers. I mean, it's just not. Is Naoto's arc about Japanese police stuff, or was I misinformed? On Twitter, it is about Japanese police stuff. Didn't she literally dress up as a guy only to be respected as a detective? That is absolutely it. So, as I said, these would be great subjects to cover. You know what else is a great subject to cover? How men and women aren't treated fairly in a lot of different professions because one of their and this does.
You've just been standing there for an hour. Did your brain die?
It's starting to. Thanks, Kanashiro, for the $1. Like, another important subject to talk about, and this happens probably, I would guess, more in male-dominated workforces, but how a lot of women aren't treated with the same respect as male coworkers or colleagues because of the fact they're a woman. That is what Naoto's arc covers. Naoto dresses up as a man and makes Detective Prince. I mean, where do you think that came from? Certainly not. You know, it would certainly be Detective Princess, I would assume, if it was a woman, right? Detective Prince comes off, makes herself seem like a man. Everyone, all the media that covers her believes she's a man. All of her coworkers believe it, and it's because if she was open about how she was a woman, she would be treated as lesser. Her discoveries, which she clearly shows that she is a very apt detective for the most part. At least that's what the game portrays her as. It still would not be taken seriously or as seriously because she's a woman. That is what that subject covers. I think it's a great subject to cover, and I think for the most part they do a good job of it. From what I remember. Here's the thing, though. And here's the problem. A lot of people interpret this as Naoto wanting to be a man. When she makes it pretty clear that it's not what she wants, it's what she effectively has to do. I'm sorry, I laughed because someone said, can we read the Donda 2 trending tag? There's like, I love Kanye's music, I really do. He's gone overboard. I think he started tweeting out anti-Semitic the other day. I mean, he went overboard a while ago, but oh man. We're not gonna get into that, though. Yosuke wants to leave it says he's wrong. Yosuke didn't want to follow that. When she decided are technically true. These points for kanji and Naoto literally are nonsensical. There's zero clues there. Why are there 4K likes? Exactly. This is someone. Okay, this is getting so derailed so quickly. Someone just enabled emote only chat, so now we're gonna be in emote only mode for the next 5 minutes. So great. I guess I'll be talking to myself. That's fun. How do I do emote only? Yeah, I'm dreading talking about this thread, if you can't tell, so. Okay! Where were we? Right, okay. What the fuck are we talking about now? I think I was just explaining what Naoto's thread is about, or, arc is about. Oh god, not Naoto's thread. She didn't make a Twitter thread, did she? So yeah, there's even an explicit line in the game, and I believe it's in this thread later, that she specifically says that she will never change from a woman to a man because Naruto does not want to be a man. I think there's another outright line that says something like along the lines of "I don't want to be a man" or something like that. So it's made pretty clear that's not what Naruto wants, but it's almost what she's forced to do because of the society she's in, because of the. It goes back to gender roles. It's very similar to kanji's in a way. That she's forced to appear in a certain way to actually be taken seriously. So yeah, this is just another, like, kind of blatant the whole chat is filled with Ryuji's here. It's just kind of another blatant misinterpretation of what Naoto's arc actually is. So, yeah, basically, it's not about being trans, but if Atlas or any game company wants to cover that subject, they should, because it's actually an interesting one. Okay, next one. What even was Chie's arc? Does anyone know or care? All I remember is there's lesbian imagery in her shadow fight, and then the game is like, no, Chie and Yukiko aren't gay, no homo. I'll give you this. I actually don't remember Chie's arc much at all either. But I believe it had something to do with her wanting to be in the police force. And like that. I can't ask my chat because they're in the mode only mode because the fucking channel points. Maybe someone in the replies has it. I'm gonna go to replies. I'm not gonna show it though because there might be. Are you not aware that teen girls in high school constantly manipulate each other? Chie's arc, while brief, was realizing she had a toxic attitude toward Yukiko and being shown bluntly that she was controlling her friend's life. His arc about feeling bad and having some pride. I don't want to go watch the arc, because I don't want to turn this into Persona 4 social link watch party. I can take you guys out of emote only now, finally, by the way. That's not what Chie's shadow was. That was Yukiko saying she was one of her princes. Nobody knows what Chie's arc is about. I don't remember it. I'll be honest. Cheese. Is that accurate? Was it about cheese? This one seems to be, everyone seems to be debunking the thing about cops that P4 says later, so not many people really are talking about Chie's arc. Yeah, it coincided with Yukiko's in some ways, right? About making Yukiko rely on her, right? Yeah, things like that. I don't remember. So, you know what? We'll chalk this up to I don't recall. So, I'll no contest this one. Although I don't recall really lesbian imagery in her shadow fight. Perhaps it's there. I actually literally just don't remember. Shadow, Persona 4. I don't really know. I don't know. Also, she wants to be a cop, and now it's as a cop, and your uncle's a cop. P4 loves cops. We'll get into this later. Because, I mean, I don't know. A game about how the cops can't solve this case because, some respect due to the fact it's paranormal, and in another respect due to the fact that they're just generally worthless and want to close the case very quickly to the point where they're pretty much desperate to label anyone as the killer. Like, again, we are talking P4 spoilers here. When, Mitsuo is his name, right? When Mitsuo is pinned as the killer, Adachi, I believe, has a hand in trying to do that. The police pretty much just, yep, he killed, King Moran over there, Moroka. So, you know, yeah, just, he's probably the killer for the rest. Just, yeah, he's a killer. He's the killer. And then obviously comes out he's not the killer later on when the killings continue. So they're very desperate to put it away without really caring about getting the right guy. I mean, being desperate to do it and just labeling anyone who could generally be the killer as the killer is obviously irresponsible as the police are not a very useful asset. Especially when the killer is literally a part of the force. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't see that as pro-cop myself. P5 goes even deeper into stuff like that for the most part. With things like, you know, the body of Joker being rushed out without people even checking if he's actually dead because they really just want to get it. Oh, yeah, it's a suicide. Get that out. In Persona 5 Strikers, I think Haru, there's literally a line from Haru that where he says, "We hate cops." I think she says it to Zenkichi, who is a cop, so, you know, Zenkichi, I apologize. Kind of, yeah, so yeah, Persona 5 Strikers best because they say they had cops, right? So, like, seeing this as a pro-cop game, like, is it just because there are cops in the game and some of them are close to you and morally good for the most part? Like, is that the pro-cop message? You want to bring up Breaking Bad again? This guy must have seen Hank and been like, wow, pro-cop propaganda, because he's one of the more morally good characters in that show. The game loves cuts. It's almost like the game revolves around a string of murders. I think Writer was talking about Yukiko calling Chie her prince. Yeah, maybe. I don't remember anything like that, so. Don't people typically do, like, ship Chie and Yukiko a lot? I don't pay attention to shit like that. But I don't know. Like, I don't recall the part where they say no, Chie and Yukiko aren't gay, no homo. Like, that's the thing I see. Like, maybe if you wanted to interpret there being lesbian imagery, you can't really confirm or deny that. But, like, you want to just, I don't recall this part. I don't, maybe I'm missing something. The girl Yosuke likes wants to, and her life is ruined because Yosuke's family runs a Walmart that's cooking the life out of local businesses, and all of Yosuke's anxieties about this disappear once he learns to and stop questioning society. What is this even really referring to? They're talking about, Saki, right? Konishi? Right? Nope. Okay. It's like about Saki Konishi there, right? I don't see who else they'd really be talking about. It's social links about dealing with how he feels about Saki and Tunas. Yeah, I don't really get what this is, like, just really means, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I don't, Yosuke's arc isn't even really about that, I feel. Like, I don't recall her wanting to either. That seems like a bit, I don't recall that. I really wish, see, if I wanted to really attack this, I should have, if I really wanted to really debunk this, I'd just do it in a YouTube video, because then I could just edit out the parts where I don't know what they're talking about, and then, you know, figure out. But if I really wanted to, I'd go back and I'd rewatch a lot of P4. I'd replay it, but then I have to play through the whole 80-hour game, and I don't want to do that for a Twitter thread. But I definitely go and watch the scenes they're talking about. I don't want to do all that on the stream. Unless someone like can really link a scene that's really that's like what they're talking about. I don't know. I literally still don't even know what this is talking about. Like Yosuke's anxiety about this disappear once he learns questions. Like, I don't know. Saki obviously dies. And Yosuke's pissed about that, and he really this is even post he kind of hears the Shadow talk about Yosuke, right? On some fuck Yosuke and his stupid Junez and fuck all that, right? So to some extent, this part's true. But like, even after that, Yosuke is still pissed that she dies, obviously. And wants revenge, like really wants revenge. Like he mentioned Saki's death a lot, far after, the months and months after it happens, as still being a very strong motivation for him trying to find the killer. So I don't really get how his anxieties about this disappear. Like it just doesn't really seem accurate to me, you know? So, whatever. Adachi literally says front and center to a cop's nephew and a wannabe cop. Hey, lots of cops are bad people. Lots of them just want the legal ability to wave a gun in people's faces without consequence. That's why I did it. Do you really think I'm the only one? Yeah, that's true. Adachi does say pretty much that. Yeah, I think the exact line is something like Adachi saying, I joined the force to get a gun. You'd be surprised how many are actually like that. Which, by the way, I mean, again, a line like that, which is true, by the way, not that it, like, the only problem with Adachi saying this is he's absolutely right. The only problem is that he's trying to use it as a justification, to some extent, for what he's doing. But, like, this is absolutely, like, true, and it comes out of Adachi of all people. I thought the original tweet was actually a unique critique on the characters. We're supposed to have underground match with the circuses they are in. Don't really change that much, which provided interesting thematics. Instead, I was saddened to learn that nobody was interested in learning interesting dynamics between characters in an inner outer world, and they instead are back to the Naruto trans caveman arguments. Yeah, like, again, if you want to say that P4's character arcs are weak because nothing really changes too much, like, it is just mostly a game about self-acceptance, I think that's why so many people love it to death, because they can probably relate to it in a lot of ways. But if you want to criticize that it's not really like doing much for you because there isn't a significant change in their circumstances or really things around them, I think that's kind of fair. But that's not even what this shit's saying, because even when it is trying to say things like that, it's incredibly disingenuous and just, kind of wrong. Actually, he's a really good character, genuinely. I like him. Yeah. So anyways, so this part's correct, that this is what Adachi says, but this isn't the full thoughts. They go on to say, the response is just no. Ah! Okay, sorry, wow, holy shit, dude. The response is just no, and then they beat his ass. Stop questioning whether cops are good or not, even when one tells you to your face in no uncertain terms they might not be, and is living proof of that. Stop asking questions. Cops are good. Cops are good. Cops are good. Let's just watch the scene, huh? Let's just watch it. Let's just watch. Some people are in chat are saying they don't remember. Let's just watch it.
Completely.
Here. This is exactly where it is. I used a transcript in YouTube to find it. Guys, I'm very crafty.
Laugh. Just because someone joins the police doesn't make them
I'm sorry, he makes me laugh.
some kind of agent of justice. You know why I applied? So I could legally carry a gun. That's all. You'd be surprised how many are like that.
So there's a scene, there's a line.
I thought it would be fun too, but to tell the truth, that was a wash. Everyone around me was such an idiot.
Okay, so again, remember that what they're trying to say here is that about when Dachi's saying a lot of people around him dumb and that he joined to get a gun, a lot of people are like that. That their response was just no, right? I get that. I mean, literally, it was just no. But let's see how they say that isn't true and that cops are good, because that's what they're trying to say here. That the Persona 4's cast is no, cops are actually good. Let's see it here.
I made one tiny mistake, and they all got on my case and sent me out here to Nowheresville as punishment. I was bored shitless and wondering what to do next when I discovered this power.
For crying out loud! Why a bastard like you?
So that's not delegitimizing anything he's saying. It's just, you know, kind of just calling Adachi a bastard. So it's fine.
A gift for having to put up with this lame job out in Nowheresville, I guess. I did that stuff because I could, and it got interesting, so I watched.
That's your reason?
Okay, so saying that his reasoning for such is obviously not justifying his actions, which is true.
You can't be serious. You really don't care what happens to our world?
Okay, so it's fine.
Let's be honest, there's nothing great about the real
See,
world.
the point is it doesn't happen. The point is this isn't in the game.
There, it's just dull and annoying as hell. No one accepts that's the way things are. They're just stuck with it because they can't
This
deny
is
it either.
based Adachi monologue, by the way. I love this one.
Those who actually succeed in life, they just happen to be born with a magic ticket called talent. If you don't have it, you can either accept or deny that fact until you die. That's your only choice. Once you realize that, all you have left in life is despair. The ultimate game over. Wouldn't it be better if that kind of reality was wiped away?
That's complete BS.
Yeah.
Rats like you are so damn...
So I don't get it. I don't get, like, Rise just called Adachi's rant on how I mean, you just heard it, right? People are born with a magic ticket called talent. If you don't have it, you can either accept or deny that fact until you die. So it's completely different. Where do they delegitimize any of this? I don't see it, because it's not in the game. So I don't know. Like this just literally isn't true. Like, I don't know what else to say. Persona 4 makes a concession that you can be a man who sews or a woman who wears a binder or unsure about whatever societal thing you want, but you will fall in line eventually. You are just confused. You'll figure it out soon that the role we gave is best for you. We debunked this here. That just isn't what these are about, really. So this can't be the conclusion when, you know... You can be a little weird in that role. We'll loosen it up a bit. You can be a little feminine, so as long as you're still straight. As we mentioned, I'm pretty sure. I'm from the way I'm interpreting things, I don't even think Kanji's straight. To me, it seems like he's most likely bi. You can be a little masculine, so as long as you don't transition, which is something that Naruto doesn't want to do, by the way. Got a bug, capiche, go back to your Walmart job, peasant. There is no different from transphobes who tell you, why can't we just let femboys and tomboys exist? It's a fake argument concerned trolling a smokescreen to distract you from the fact that they don't want trans people in society. They've just taken a smarter... I told you I'd be upset if that started playing. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I think it's pretty clear. My stance on genuine, transphobia, is that it's obviously terrible, and if you're transphobic, I mean, there's just no place for you on this channel, quite frankly. That goes without saying, though. But, trying to attribute Persona 4's, arcs, which aren't even really about things like that, almost at all, it's just a bad take. Like, Persona 4 is truly ahead of its time, demonstrating effectively how to hold conservative social position while feigning a progressive one, which is now the default rhetorical strategy for reactionaries. They are incorporating the language of tolerance into intolerance. I just really don't think this is what Persona 4 is doing. Like, at all. Like, I don't know. I could use anecdotal, right? And I could say, I know tons of LGBT people who love Persona 4, because I do. That doesn't really, mean anything. Because because the point they're trying to kind of say is that it's feigning a progressive position while holding a conservative one, but it's just not really. It just doesn't seem outright true. Where funny spinny wheel moment? I promise we'll get to it. I'm sorry this is taking so long. But this is what's relevant in Persona right now, and like now we've opened the can of worms, you might as well finish it. They know they can't get gay marriage reversed. Who can't get gay marriage? What? Japan? Or Atlas? What? Wait, what? Is this saying Atlas wants gay marriage reversed, but they can't do that, so they're making a game to propaganda it or something? Isn't gay marriage banned in Japan anyways? Because I remember seeing this, like, not even long ago. This was 2 months ago, I remember, or 4 months ago, sorry. Japan court says ban on same-sex marriage is constitutional. Which, you know... Public opinion in Japan currently favors legalizing same-sex marriage. Currently, the current rules in Japan social security cannot inherit each other's property, house, or assets, etc. Yeah, so Japan doesn't even have gay marriage, which is embarrassing, by the way. I mean, that is like embarrassing on Japan's part to exist in 2022 and still have a ban on that. So now to push back acceptance of trans people, they feign concern of lesbians being pressured to sleep with trans people pressured into becoming men. Okay, like I said, we've already talked about this ad nauseum in the earlier one, so just like, this is running on the impression that we believe any of what came before this is true. Do I have a Discord? No, I don't have a Discord. If I have a Discord, it's gonna be drama, and there's gonna be hell, and then it's all gonna be traced back to me, and I'm gonna be... So. I have a Twitter, though, unfortunately. Look, it's at Screenments. I have the Adachi profile picture, because again, one bad thread is all it takes. Yeah, like I said, though, I believe this person did play the game, but people just misinterpret popular media all the time. And I was actually, I was gonna say, or I was thinking about this earlier, that a part of the reason people misinterpret things is because they see what they want, like a lot of people have biases to what they want to see, and because of that, they see things the way they want to see them, even if it's not the truth. But then, yeah, people were tweeting out this, ironically enough, line from Persona 4, humans fail to see things as they truly are, they choose to see only what they wish. So, look at that. Naoto's arc is her saying she only wanted to become a man to escape misogyny in society. Well, Naoto didn't want to become a man. See, very tricky wording here. Naoto doesn't want to become a man. Naoto has to feign being a man, effectively. Has to, you know, bind her chest and go under Detective Prince and whatnot, and Persona 5 confirms that years later, years after the story of Persona 4, that never changed. Because they call Akechi the second coming of the Detective Prince. I think there's even some references outside of that to Naoto, and it confirms that Naoto always went by Detective Prince. Hence, even after kind of going through her arc and accepting whatever, and by the end of Persona 4 Golden, I think she kind of binds her chest less, has her hat off, so her hair is kind of down more, in a more feminine way. But even after all that never changed. She still pretended to be a man, presumably throughout her entire life. Which I'm actually glad they do it like that, because that's pretty much what would happen in real life. I mean, you can have self-acceptance all you want, you could have, whatever, you could even, you know, to some extent protest and petition or whatever. Some things are just beyond the average person being able to change, and to some extent will just unfortunately never change for probably a foreseeable amount of time. Typically because the only people who can change them are the people who benefit from it, but also just because things like that, societal stigmas, like, it's difficult for them to change. I mean, we still see like what happened to Naoto in the game happen in real life all the time, even in 2022. So yeah. Even I'm glad in Persona 5 they confirm that never changed, because that's unfortunately how it would go in real life. Naoto would likely just have to pretend to be a man throughout her entire career. But yeah, so just tricky wording here. Just wanted to become a man, as in transition or anything like that. She just wants to pretend to be a man, so she'll actually be taken seriously in her work. No, this is exactly what J.K. Rowling and other TERFs think trans men are, women who want to escape misogyny by becoming men. Yeah, and that's obviously really dumb that people think that about trans people. Trans men specifically. But again, Naoto outright says that she doesn't want to transition, so it's not even a trans thing, really. I don't see how this relates to the actual arc Naoto goes through. Am I crazy for that? This pisses me off when a video game or piece of media is overanalyzed and used as a medium for people to spew their dog shit opinions. Like, it's just such a fucking shame. Because, like, I feel like this takes away, too, from the actual concept of Naoto's arc about, you know, facing misogyny in these workplaces, which is a thing that very, very, very happens literally everywhere. And it just kind of takes away from that because people are talking about something that doesn't even exist. When, like I said, it'd be great if someone covered a topic like this in a video game, but, you know, the one they cover in P4 of Naruto, I think, is also a very important topic, and I think overshadowing it with this, which isn't true, is just kind of unfortunate. Stop being fooled by conservatives just because they're smart enough to disguise their hatred as concern. Publicly accepting gay marriage. Like I said, again, from what I read, what I just pulled up that article, and if that means what I think it means, that the gay marriage ban is still being, in 2022, June of 2022, being labeled as constitutional, that means that they are still, Japan is still perfectly okay with a ban on gay marriage. So, it's not even, I guess I mean Atlas, to be fair, but I'm just saying, yeah, it's embarrassing Japan's like that, but probably accepting maybe this is about something about Atlas I don't know. Like, do they have an official stance on gay marriage or something? I have no idea. As a law of the land does not make them bigoted, it makes them capable of strategizing. Sure. I mean, I'm sure, yeah, there are some people with bad takes that disguise their hatred as concern or whatever, but I'm just, maybe Atlas is like that, dude. Maybe Atlas is homophobic. Maybe they're trans. Maybe they hold these values. Like I said, they have up representation in the past. So if you want to base it off that, perhaps you'd have some sort of point. But I'm just saying Persona 4 is not an example of this. Because it doesn't even touch on these subjects very strongly. So all these exact same people, like, I'm just saying, if it came out tomorrow, Atlas, CEO of Atlas is homophobic and has been putting it, you know, and has been opposing this and opposing that, sure, it's possible. I just don't think the values shown in Persona 4 really reflect that all that much. All these exact same people who love Persona 4 for preaching tolerance also came out of the woodwork to insist Bridget wasn't trans, which, yeah, was absolutely wrong. Bridget was trans, and the creator did outright come out and say that, and, I actually was, talking about this back in September 2022, before the creator outright came and said it, because it was just in the video game, and then I got a lot of blowback from people telling me I was wrong. So then, when the creator confirmed it, what did I say? Was it in response to this one, I think? Yeah, I may have came back to the thread 10 days later, said, what about now? And, attached the creator confirming it. So, whoops, my bad. Whoops. So yeah, I was on that side the whole time. Not that it really matters, but yeah, I mean, people were wrong about that. That was ambiguous and only accepted the truth if they ever accepted it. And yeah, people still weren't accepting the truth. I mean, look, some people were still, in response to me showing the thing from Guilty Gear's own developers, still denying it. So yeah, people were still denying it. Yeah, those people are absolutely wrong. But I mean, I don't know. I like Persona 4. Do I love it for preaching tolerance? Maybe it's part of it. I don't know. I certainly love its themes of self-acceptance. I like a lot of the subjects it touches on, so to some extent, yeah. I don't think these two things are necessarily, you know, linked. Brisket heart, true. At this point, we're not even talking about P4. Yeah, I know, right? Again, it's trying to attribute a lot of people to another viewpoint, similar to calling them all. Like it's kind of make your point, dude. It'll stand on its own if it's right. Even when Naoto says that cops are mostly men and they treat her badly for being a woman, the resolution is actually no, they wouldn't. Yeah, no, that's the you got it, man. You know it. That's the resolution. That was the resolution, guys. The resolution was that's why in Persona 5 it's confirmed that she is still faking being a man. That's why. That's actually why that right there. That's actually why, because they were so accepting and they actually wouldn't at all that she still had to fake being a man the whole time, even after accepting herself. I mean, what do you even mean? Like, this is like what? Like, where does this argument even come from? What? How do you defend this as progressive? Stop falling for this. Like, when does this even like what? I thought the whole point was that Naoto goes through her arc, whatever, right? Goes through all of it. Accepts that, because you know they have the whole laboratory going on with her dungeon or whatever, and I believe the lab. Shadow Naoto's in a lab coat, and I think if I'm remembering this correctly, again, it's been a while, but I'm pretty sure it's even implying that, like, oh, you want a sex change, you want to become a man, specifically so you don't have to deal with this anymore. And Naoto's like, no, I don't, and that's, you know, that's how that boss fight, after you beat the boss fight, that's how that whole thing concludes. But the resolution has nothing to do, the resolution effectively is, no, I don't want to actually be a man. But she still has to continue faking being a man to continue essentially working her job. And that's why P5 confirms that she's still under Detective Prince. So this just isn't true. Yeah, I don't know. For God's sake, Naoto is in front of an operating table, or Shadow's in the lab. I just talked about this. And she says this line. But though I will one day never change from a child, or sorry, I will one day change from a child to an adult, I will never change from a woman to a man. Yeah. Yeah, I don't, that's what I just said, yeah. Naoto doesn't want to be a man. It's very, P4 defenders love saying, this person didn't even play the game, but did you play it? How is it not transphobic? Is this line supposed to be transphobic? I would assume anyone sensible anyways would likely assume that no one should be forced into transitioning, especially not, you know, I mean, they mentioned it just up here that you know, TERFs think trans men are just women who want to escape becoming misogyny. No one would want people to transition when they don't want to, right? No one would, I mean, no one would want that. Again, I don't hate using anecdotal but I know trans people, great people, by the way. I'm you know, just the ones I know anyways, are pretty great people, and I'm sure if I asked them, like, hey, do you think everyone should be trans, and the people who don't want to be are, like, being transphobic, so, like, obviously, like, I at least that's what I'm taking from, like, they're trying to say here. I don't get it. When I heard that line first, I assumed society will never let me be a man. I don't think that's what they're trying to say. Perhaps, well, let's go watch the context then. Perhaps I'm forgetting something. Let's go.
Naoto!
I just sped up. Oh, right, because I haven't 2 times speed. Just keep it there. I feel like we're delving into territory I never expected when we were talking about Persona. Where the f is it? Here. Let's go back a little bit. Like here.
You're only a child?
Not everyone welcomes my collaboration when it comes to solving cases. My status as a child was sufficient to offend many of those whom I worked with. Were that the only issue, then it would have resolved itself with time. But though I will one day change from a child to an adult, I will never change.
Oh, I missed that.
My
I'm gonna slow it down.
collaboration when it comes to solving cases. My status as a child was sufficient to offend many of those whom I worked with. Were that the only issue, then it would have resolved itself with time.
Right.
But though I will...
So what she's saying here, right? Even being a child, like I suppose a teenager in the detective force was enough to piss some people off. But then, you know, eventually when she became an adult, that would have resolved
those whom I
itself.
worked with. Were that the only issue, then it would have resolved itself with time.
But even though she'll become an adult one day, and eventually the critiques that she has from coworkers or whatnot will about being a child will be gone, she'll never lose the critiques of being a woman because she'll never be able to change from a woman to a man.
But though I
Or will never want to change from a woman to
will
a
one
man. I
day
suppose
change from a
better way of
child to
putting
an
that.
adult, I will never change from a woman to a man.
Do you not like being a girl?
Oh, here we go, and this will give clarification on whether Naoto wants to be a girl.
Is that why you always dress like a boy?
My sex doesn't fit my ideal image of a detective. Besides, the police department is a male-oriented society. If they had the slightest concrete reason to look down on me, no one would need me anymore.
You don't know that.
Hey, you must know already that what you yearn for isn't to become an adult or become a boy.
You're absolutely right. I'm sorry.
Okay. I think this just kind of supports what we've been saying the whole time, right? There was... Let's go back a little bit.
Status as a child evolved itself with time. But though I will one day change from a child to an adult, I will never change from a woman to a man.
Do you not like being a girl? Is that why you always dress like a boy?
So she does nod to that.
Dress like a boy?
Boy. She does nod to that.
My sex doesn't fit my ideal image of...
Sex doesn't feel my ideal image of a detective. So, seemingly, from what Naoto's ideal image of a detective is, I suppose her ideal image of a detective is
a
man.
detective. Besides, the police department
The police department is male-oriented
is a
society.
male-oriented society. If they had the
If I had the slightest concrete reason to look down on me, no one would need me
slightest
anymore.
concrete reason to look down on me, no one would need me anymore.
You don't know that.
Hey, you must
Okay, and then Yukiko just says what you yearn for is to
know
become an
already
adult
that
or
what
become a
you yearn
boy.
for isn't to become an adult or become a boy.
Yeah, okay, I don't see where the problem is really. Like I think maybe some people can see this as Yukiko telling them, like, oh, your ideal image of being a detective is a man. Well, you should know that that's isn't what you know isn't really what you want. But I think what it really is here. I can see why people I think misinterpret this a little bit. But I think it's more so just your ideal image of a detective being a man or being a thing or being an adult don't have to necessarily be the case. Like you're an ideal detective can be a child and can be a woman. I think that's what's that's saying there. I don't think I'm out of line for that.
Already that what you yearn for isn't to become an adult.
So I think I see where the
You're absolutely right.
misinterpretation comes, but like
I'm sorry.
I really don't think it's what they're trying to say there. So yeah. Persona 4 is garbage trash. If the god-awful dungeons and boring structure and obnoxious dull characters weren't enough, why are we talking about this then? Why are we talking about this? We should talk about this then. This could be actual critique. Because my biggest problem with P4 actually is the dungeon design. I think, sure, right? Maybe it's a step up from P3, although it's almost pretty much the same, except just different themes behind them. Lack of dungeon design, exactly. That's my biggest thing against P4, and you could say, oh, it's a PS2 era game, you gotta give it a break. But I'm like, I feel like there are almost certainly other games from the same era that had more interesting level design, so I don't think it's much of an argument. I know games from before that era that had more interesting level design, so... Yeah, boring structure and obnoxious dull characters, I like them, but I'm sure there are things I have problems with, and I could agree with a lot of arguments against them, so... Perhaps you could even change my perspective. Maybe with a good enough argument, you could even make me believe that they are obnoxious dull characters. It's also hateful and hierarchical,
Hierarchical.
Hierarchical. That doesn't sound... Okay, fine, it's probably right. They're better than me. Hierarchical, and wants you to bend the goddamn knee already. Defending it, pretending it's tolerant. Okay. Holy shit, here we go. Hell, it's 1:30. We're how much? Or sorry, it's not 1:30. We're 1 hour 3 minutes through the thing. Okay, we're almost on the thread. Thank God. We're gonna speedrun the rest of this, I think.
Max, nice.
Detective Dojima?
So hold on, let me pull up the context of this. They put this video busting some teenagers still in a boombox. It's obviously more important to your daughter, obviously, because the law and cops and
I'm sorry to bother you while you're off duty.
Don't sweat it. Who are they?
Oh, it's that group of juvie thieves. You know, the one that's been the talk of the town?
Thieves. Those punks.
Dad, are you going?
No, I can't. Normally I would. I would go after them, but now Solemn turn to Waffles, gives a knowing nod. No, I can't. I'm too busy being a dad. Turns around, walks away. End of scene. Police officer on stairs, visibly confused. Outro music. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah. Arresting the bad guys is my...
Okay.
I mean, your father's job. Sorry, but take care of Nanako.
Go get him. Be careful. Leave it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the f was this resolution? Now I'm just gonna do the same thing, but now I'm doing it for the right reasons? What is this?
Let's go home. I need to get the bath ready. Oh, and let's make a late night snack.
Yeah, my dad's not gonna be here still and he's gonna neglect me, but you know what? I know that he's doing it for the right reasons now. Let's go home and hang out, Waffles. I'm hungry, big bro.
Okay. Oh, there's a lot to unpack here. Okay. Yeah, I think this ties into a lot of people's problems with P4 as a whole. So busting some teenagers for stealing a boombox from Circus City is more important than your daughter Dojima, obviously, because it's the law and cops and the law and authority and hierarchy and cops and true great society. To some extent, I actually think I sort of agree with this. I think that there could have... Oh, is this song playing now? I think to some extent I actually agree with this because I think there could have been a better resolution here. But you see, I wish that they gave what they think a better resolution would be. I think there is a general rule of thumb, and it's not like something you need or whatever. But I think there's a general rule of thumb that when you critique something like this, an isolated scene like this, that you give a better way it could have happened, a better resolution in this case, right? You don't have to do it because you don't have to be able to write at the same level or better than a piece of media to critique it. But I just think it's a generally good rule of thumb to let people know what you think would have been a better resolution. Like, if I'm thinking about it, right? So what happened here? Dojima's arc is about how he neglects Nanako a lot because of his job as a detective or as a cop. This police officer comes to you know, be like, hey, there are thieves on the last rank here. And, Dojima, I suppose they expected Dojima to say, no, I'm not going to go. I'm going to spend time with my daughter. But they actually do. Dojima actually goes. He's like, yeah, I'm actually going to go. It's my job. Take care of Nanako for me, whatever. I think, and I'm not a writer, so don't take it from me. But maybe a better resolution here would have been something along the lines of... Because obviously Dojima can't just not do his job. And to some extent he has to do it to, obviously, I mean, like, obviously we don't want him neglecting Nanako, and his job is very demanding, so he does, because, you know, a lot. And obviously you can't just outright quit and just have no money, and then, you know, neglecting Nanako is bad. Having her go homeless would be worse, right? But I think perhaps maybe a better resolution here could have been something like Dojima going, well, you know what? Maybe I'll dust off my resume or something after we catch the killer, because also there's a serial killer loose at the same time as this is happening, right? So it's like, can't just expect Dojima to go, there's a serial killer on the loose. He's killing many people in Inaba. He could even come for me or Narukami. Well, I guess he won't come for Dojima because he is pretty strong. Ain't nobody gonna kidnap Dojima. He could come for Nanako. He could come for Narukami. I don't want that to happen. So even if they don't go for my family, you know, they could go for other people. Don't want other people dying in Inaba. So, you know, leaving being a cop to spend time with Nanako wouldn't be, I don't think that's totally 100% a great idea in the middle of being a serial killer, but I wouldn't mind if it's like, oh yeah, after we finish this case, maybe I'll dust off my resume. Maybe I'll go for, maybe I'll go for something lower down in the police lineage. Maybe I'll just quit being a cop altogether, because as much as I like being a cop, I care about Nanako more, and it's a tough decision, but I have to, you know, I have to step down and do something else. So I'll have time to spend with my daughter as well, because my daughter is more important to me than anything else, including being a cop. Something like this, in the middle of being a serial killer. Sorry, did I say Dojima was a serial killer? My apologies. So yeah, because we all know Nanako's a real serial killer. But, yeah, I think maybe a resolution like that would have been better, because I guess what this kind of implies is that nothing's really going to change with his job, and he's still going to not really have much time for Nanako. So I think maybe something like, you know, once this case is over, you know, maybe it's time to hang up being this high-ranking cop. Maybe I'll go for something lower. Maybe let's go for another job entirely. Something like that, maybe. I'm not a fucking writer, so give me a break. But I think, yeah, maybe that would have been a better resolution than what we got. I mean, I don't think this is, like, horrendous or anything, but, this to me seems like more of Dojima not being able to handle his emotions as a father and not a society thing. Yeah, this is certainly more just, I think, about Dojima as a character less than it's anything. Like, this thread desperately wants to convince me that Persona 4 is very pro-cop, but, like, really, I mean, police are hardly ever really made a point in this game, and when they are, it's because of how worthless they are to the serial killer case. I don't know, I think it fits with the rest of the game where he emotionally changed, but his circumstances are still the same. Yeah, like, again, this is a common critique people have of P4 that I suppose nothing actually changes besides just their perspective, which, I mean, is the theme of the game. Talk about acceptance and whatnot. But sure. I can sort of say, yeah, I think there could have been a better resolution here. But I really disagree with the reason why this is written this way is because they're trying to push a pro-cop narrative. I mean, we've gone over at least like 3 times now how this game is so obviously not pushing a narrative like that. At least not with the evidence given in this thread. Persona 5 is also like this. Here, this is my expertise. I play this one a lot. I know the story of this one like the back of my hand. Persona 5 is also like this, by the way. If you think Persona 5 is about rebelling against society, it's not. That's okay. Okay, you're gonna have to prove that one. The second the main conflict resolves and it comes down to actually changing laws instead of fighting demons, the characters wipe their hands and let the lawyers take over. So isn't a very main point of Persona 5 kind of the fact that changing a few hearts doesn't really do much for overall society, right? Like, for starters, a significant amount of people who support the Phantom Thieves throughout their reign are just people bandwagoning, right? That's why 1 second they're like, woo, Phantom Thieves, yeah! And the next second they're like, oh, did you hear what that Akechi guy said? The Phantom Thieves. And I'm like, wait a minute, no, I love the Akechi. That, and then Akechi's like, it seems like I'm not welcome wherever I go, right? And everyone's like, whoa, Phantom Thieves! And then you hear them say like, I wish the Phantom Thieves would change the hearts of my boss so I'd get a day off, right? Obviously supporting it for not good reasons, quite frankly, right? And then the next second they're like, oh yeah, we're back with Akechi, the Phantom Thieves. Like, people bandwagon and they believe. And that's why, when you got all the way to Shido, and you take him down, and you have him admit to his crimes, nobody cares at that point. I mean, obviously, this ties in somewhat to cognition, and how, and it's at that point, the Phantom Thieves have left the cognition of everyone. So it's like, to some extent, I think the Persona 5 is trying to tell something greater about society. And I honestly believe that's exactly what happens if the Phantom Thieves are real. I think most people would bandwagon it. They'd sell merchandise of them because they're an anonymous company, so there's no copyright on that. People would bandwagon. People would be like, "Oh, I wish they changed the heart of my boss." Oh, let's all vote Okumura because there's a lot of rumors out there about him, even though those rumors end up being true. I hope they take down Okumura. It'd be so cool. It'd be so dope. And they're not even thinking about the reason they're actually doing it. But in the end of Persona 5, and I think the Mementos Depths and Yaldi arc kind of touched on this the most, that they've changed hearts, but society as a whole hasn't really changed that much, right? Society still wants to be kind of told, they kind of want to be, the whole Yaldi's arc talks about, really. So it's like, I always felt that the main point of P5 was that what they're doing is not enough to change society on its own. Well, I always took Persona to kind of have some depressing conclusions, I mean, I just talked about how Naoto, despite going through her arc, is still the detective prince, so she never gets to be open about being a woman in her workplace, which is like the one thing she wants throughout all of Persona 4. Persona 5 is all about changing people's hearts, but really, it's not enough to change society as a whole. Even if, yeah. I don't know. That's kind of how I interpreted it. So yeah, to some extent, this is kind of what happens, but I felt like that's what they were trying to say. I don't know. I suppose you could be upset with that, but like, I honestly prefer this to we changed Kamoshida and Madarame and Kaneshiro and the whole list, and Japan was saved. Never again did anything. Woohoo! We did it. Because I mean, they can't change laws. They're teenagers. Lawyers can't even change laws. Look at politics in real life. Do you know how much it has to go through to change a law? Especially when both sides are so split. Like, laws almost never change for the better a lot of the time, and when they do, it's not for just reasoning. It's because it benefits someone at the top. It benefits whatever. It'll get someone more votes for the next election. Like, very rarely things actually change for the better of society, I feel. So, it's like, because the people who can change these laws, and the people who can do shit like this and actually make significant changes on society are the people benefiting the most from the way society is currently. And if they ever wanted to change it, they'd have to get like 100 quadrillion other people who have significantly different political views from them to share that same sentiment, and that'll obviously never happen. So I don't know. I feel like this is I feel like the way it went down, hey, we changed a bunch of hearts and nothing really changed significantly. They still did ultimately almost a very... they did almost entirely good, though. Because, I mean, they stopped the mental shutdown. That was going on. An end was put to that. Because, I mean, if they weren't there, Shido probably would have won the Prime Minister... the election or whatever, and nothing would have changed, and then they would have been hands wiped clean for all the mental shutdown. They still changed Kamoshida, who was a terrible person. Yeah, Shido does win, right? But in the end, does Shido stay as the Prime Minister? It does. You good, dude? You sound deranged a little bit. Yeah. Do they go through... I don't remember it ever being touched on. At the end, because after Shido's taken down, they're like, oh, can we put, like, other people from Shido's whatever in charge? Does that ever happen? Or do they say Shido step down? Okay, I don't remember. Because I remember after Shido has his mental... or his change of heart, they're like, oh, can we get Shido... Can we get, like... unnamed Shido-gun #1 to take his place or whatever, or something along those lines. P5 seems more to me like one single person or group can't create change. It takes almost everyone to push for change actually. Exactly. So I always took this as kind of just this was kind of like the main like the main point in the end, that they still did ultimate good. Everything the Phantom Thieves for the most part did was good. I mean, they stopped people like Kamoshida, who probably would have never been never been outed for what they did. People like Manorame, Kanji, pretty much everyone there probably wouldn't have been outed in society for the bad people they are, at least not at that point, and it would have been delayed a lot longer. So they still helped to stop humanity from being brainwashed, albeit that was almost because of a direct result of how the public felt about the Phantom Thieves and whatnot. So still did like pretty much only good. But yeah, they weren't there wasn't enough to change society as a whole. I still think that means they were rebelling against society. I mean, society despised them at one point, and they still continued doing their stuff. I mean, society literally thought them out of cognition, and they still came back. They were, I don't know, the power of friendship or something. And they still, did that. So it's like, I mean, they still rebelled against society as a whole, but they weren't enough to change society, because I don't think one group of people ever will be. In reality, Anyways, we have another clip here, apparently.
Okay, here's what I'm learning from anime, okay? Anime storylines are, here's the character development. Character starts in place A.
Okay.
Character goes on a little bit of a journey where they slightly deviate from place A. Then they realize that place A was actually where they belonged the whole time, but now they're doing it for slightly different reasons that are the right reasons. There we go. I've solved anime.
I'm sorry, someone asked earlier if I was deranged in the chat. Or I sound deranged. And yeah, this is the long-term effects of going through a Twitter thread for like an hour. Yeah, it's the long-term effects of Twitter in general. Okay, I mean, this just seems kind of like a joke. Like, this is Joseph Anderson, right? I don't really watch much of him, but I'm aware of him. And his persona, I mean, this is kind of, I mean,
Right reasons.
like, is this actually being used as a point? Because like you have to make a lot of assumptions and generalizations for this to be true. I mean, like, do I have to come out here and say, obviously every anime character isn't actually like this?
Actually where they belong.
If we're talking about P4 specifically, like I said, it's a story about self-acceptance, so a lot doesn't change within their circumstances or whatever. But I just don't think that's an inherent problem. Like, you cannot like this form of storytelling that P4 does, but I think not liking it for the for the specific reason of it just not being the type of storytelling you like, and it doesn't fit into this criteria and this box of what storytelling should be, is pretty close-minded. Like, I think being like, oh, for character development to be good, it can't be, a slight change in whatever. It can't be something significant has to change, something in their circumstance has to change. If not, it's bad character development. I think it's pretty close-minded. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. Played Disco Elysium. I've heard the game is quite good. I haven't played it myself, so I don't know. Maybe you should. Okay, now they're just responding to people who, disagree with the Bridget. So obviously I'm not gonna talk about that, because I already talked about how... Yeah, how the people were dumb, saying Bridget wasn't trans when it was pretty obvious she was. Penny was spitting straight facts into her audience, won't let her speak. Oh, this was about another thing where someone said that, Persona 4 sucks because of the kanji talked about earlier. And now, yeah, that was a dumb thing to say from that person. Persona was countercultural from conception. Megaten as a whole was, while older Megaten games are surprisingly packed with minority characters or intersex characters. Yeah, like I said, I wish they'd portray these characters, more now and in actual good ways. Persona 1 is also about characters being upset with the way their society perceives and casts them. It's just the resolution of those arcs. You should call that what's expected of me. I'm going to be who I am. Damn the consequences. Is that not? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I get what they mean. Is this not... Is this not kind of what they're talking about with the resolution of P4? I mean... Society challenges, people like Kanji that they're supposed to be a certain way because of the things they like, and then in the end, they're like, fuck what's expected of me, I'm gonna be me, fuck the consequences. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It's a good game, better than 4 and 5. I disagree, but it's okay. People are gonna read this thread and go, you just want to Kanji and Naoto to be trans, and at this point, if that's a takeaway you got, sure, yeah, the game would have been better if Kanji were gay and Naoto were trans. It's true, that it's a fact. Want to prove me wrong? Who knows, maybe it could have been. I don't know. We didn't get that game. And then here we go. Yeah, so now we get to, I've played more Persona games than you, I played more Mega 10 games than you, and then it absolutely derails, and the OP outs himself as an absolute, as somebody who seems like they're a little deluded, but, you know.
I've played more Persona games than you.
So you get the point. Great, we did it! We made it through the thread! Yay! That was terrible. What a waste of time. Okay, let's just play. Anyways, if I'm allowed to plug some games, hey, I think Persona... Okay, it's Kanashiro again, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, Kanashiro, we're getting to it. We're gonna start, okay? We're gonna start. If I'm allowed to plug something very quick, and it's another thing I actually wanted to talk about, so it's a great transition. By the way, I do want to talk about, by the way, you may have seen how high of a like count this got. Be thankful there is hope, and there's a lot of people, like, who disagree with it. Like, almost all of the replies and quote tweets are like, you know, this is dumb. This is from a comic book, by the way, I can show that, it's fine. You know, what is this even?
Resident sleeper, resident sleeper, resident sleeper.
I'll get into it, Kanashiro, okay? I'm getting to it. You're trying to articulate a point of criticism. It's probably a good idea to not have a hysteric meltdown in the middle of it. So yeah, there's a lot of people who disagree with it, basically. Don't take this as entirely everyone believes this. This is a very small amount of people who actually probably misinterpreted Persona 4. Who knows, maybe it's a lot of people. Like I said, a lot of popular media gets misinterpreted all the time. Who knows for sure. All we can know, and we can take pride in the fact that we enjoy it, that's pretty much it. So yeah, if I'm allowed to plug something, I would like to plug that you should play Persona 4, and I think it's an excellent game for the most part. It has its issues. I touched on a few just over this like hour, but also it was announced, because I know a lot of people sometimes get surprised by this when I mention this on stream. It was just announced that October 8th, so 2 days ago, the Persona 3 Portable and Persona 4 Golden will release on modern platforms on January 19th, 2023. So if you haven't played it, and you don't currently have a PS Vita, or a PS2, or a PC, and you want to play Persona 4... Checkmate. Thank you, Yuna, for the 2 subs, and Shishimi with that checkmate. You can play the games very, very soon. Persona 5 Royal comes out in 11 days. And I think you should play them. I think they're quite excellent games. Okay, great. Just wanted to mention that. I'm being sad. Okay, let's get into this. We're going to get into Kanashiro, okay? Are you ready? Are you ready? Here we go. We're going to get into it. That was our Persona 4 Golden Talk. I think I might upload that just raw to my YouTube. It was like kind of a because I wasn't exactly 100% prepared to tackle a lot of those, but I think I got most of the points I wanted to out of that, right? That was a pretty good, like, debunking, quote-unquote, of that thread, right? I think.